Well, hello everybody. This is Mark Ittleman, speech-language pathologist, and welcome. Welcome to the teaching of talking, and welcome to your class which is about aphasia. And not only is it about aphasia, it's about apraxia. And you know, aphasia and apraxia are very common with people who have a stroke and have aphasia. So let's quickly define what aphasia is. Hi, Marianne. So an aphasia is diminished language. So it's when you go to speak, if a word is not there and you have difficulty coming up with words, and speaking words, that's called an expressive aphasia. And expressive aphasia is like what happens when you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden you lose your train of thought, if you know what I mean. So you can lose your train of thought and then you go, where was I? It's like you lose it's like the words disappear. And that's a terrible thing for people who have been used to talking for years and years and years. So aphasia is about words. And aphasia is about grabbing words and speaking them. Hi, Tony. Hi, Helen. And hi, Karen. And hi, Marianne. So that's what aphasia is. It's about thinking what it is you want to say, and you go in your head to start saying it, and guess what? It's not there. Gosh, how disappointing that is. Hi, Julie. Good to see you. So that's an expressive aphasia. When the words don't come out, they disappear. You don't know what the heck happened to them, but they're not there. And that's pretty scary for an individual who maybe was a professional, who maybe had a job, who loved talking with people. Hey, John. Hey, Joan. And so an expressive aphasia is when the words don't come. Now, an aphasia not only is about speaking, but an aphasia is also about expressing yourself another way. Now, we can express ourselves in another way. We can write. And if many of you know me, I write all the time. And there are a lot of people who write all the time. However, many who have a stroke and many who have aphasia have difficulty not only expressive speech, expressing their speech, but they have difficulty expressing themselves when they write. And so when you think of an expressive aphasia, we express ourselves in writing and we express ourselves in speaking. And when one has an aphasia, the language that we use to express ourselves in either writing or speaking is diminished. Now, for many people, it's not total. We know that with aphasia, you can have a mild case of aphasia. And the mild case of aphasia is when a person intermittently and occasionally loses their words. They could be talking about something and then all of a sudden lose their train of thought or lose a word, can't find a word. That's called an anomia. Anomia is when you're talking along and the word you want to use just disappears. So with an expressive aphasia, it can be very severe where a person doesn't speak at all, or it can be a mild aphasia where they can talk okay, but intermittently they lose the word and they get stuck on a word. And there are a lot of caregivers who ask over and over again, what do I do when my loved one gets stuck on a word and I don't know what the heck they're trying to say. And that's a big problem, and many of you know about that. And we're going to be covering that next week. We're going to have a special class just on what do I do when my loved one wants to tell me something and they're not able to express it. All right, so we're talking about aphasia. So aphasia, I want everybody to really get this because I'm trying to make it very, very simple. And that is, and aphasia has to do with the whole words, not only bringing up the right word, but knowing how to string words together. How to string words together. So if I say, I love you, I've got to first find the I and then love and then say you. So the aphasia is all about not only the words that you're saying, but it's also about putting those words in a phrase or a sentence and knowing which words follow which words. All right, so that's an expressive aphasia. The mild aphasia is when throughout a conversation a person has anomia, they lose their train of thought, or they lose a word. And then if they have a moderate to severe aphasia, they can maybe say some words, but it's very, very difficult. They get confused. They get stuck on words. They get frustrated. They get angry. They get anxiety. And just remember this, that when you have an expressive aphasia, whether it be in speaking or in writing, you don't want to do anything that's going to upset that person, because just know that any kind of stress or any kind of tension when a person is trying to express themselves is going to make it even worse. And there's Aaron. I see Aaron, and I see Cindy. Hey, Cindy. And I see Greg. Hey. So we know that about aphasia. But then there's the apraxia part. And I want to really make apraxia really, really simple for you so that you'll understand what really apraxia is. So we know that apraxia is the words or the sounds that make up the words. Okay, so we know that the words you have to formulate, but with an apraxia, it's about formulating the words with the sounds of speech. It's about formulating the sounds that make up the words in speech. And when one has an apraxia, often the sounds get confused. The sounds get distorted. And it all has to do with in here. Hey, Kara, and hi, Amy. So when you think of apraxia, I want everybody here in class to take your finger and just do that, because this is where the apraxia is. It's about moving the tongue, and it's about moving the lips and moving the palate and making sure that the tongue is moving right and the lips are moving right and the palate is moving right. Now, what happens with an apraxia is sometimes the tongue doesn't move so well. Sometimes the tongue can't move very fast. Sometimes the tongue works very slowly. Before, it used to be able to do all kinds of wonderful things. But with an apraxia, sometimes the tongue doesn't move as well. And so it doesn't make accurate speech sounds. And that's because of the motor. Hi, Melissa. And hi, my good friend Joe. So the apraxia is all about the sounds. And the sounds are made with the tongue. And the sounds are made with the lips. And the sounds are made with the palate. And they formulate the sounds of speech. And you know, when you move all of the sounds together, it makes a word. So if I said buy, you know there's a B and you know there's an I, and you move the lips by. And for many people with apraxia, they have a hard time voluntarily moving the lips or moving the throat. And you know, sometimes even the voice gets affected in an apraxia. So any illness or any brain injury or any stroke or any Parkinson's disease or even a dementia or an Alzheimer's disease can affect the tongue and the teeth and the palate and can upset the very fine coordination of the speaking mechanism. You know, there was a report that came out. Hi, Diana. There was a report that came out that said that the process of speaking, that the actual movement of the tongue and the lips and the throat, the actual movement of those structures takes fine coordination. And what they say is that the process of speech takes more finer coordination than just about any other thing that a human being does. So when we're talking about apraxia, we're talking about the tongue and the sounds. And that's a whole separate deal as compared to an aphasia. Because with an aphasia, it's about the words that are disappearing. And it's about the words that you have to string together. And often with an aphasia, you forget how to string the words together, or you can't get the words out. Whereas an apraxia are the sounds, and the sounds that make up the word. And you have to be able to move the tongue right, and the lips right, and the throat right to make an accurate speech sound. And if there's anything wrong with the motor in there, from a stroke or dementia or a head injury or from dysarthria, that's going to affect the speech motor. Hey, Lynn. And if it affects the speech motor, then the speech is not going to come out as clear as you wish. Now, when you learn about somebody like a speech-language pathologist, all right? A speech-language pathologist is a specialist when it comes to speech. And remember, speech deals with the motor in there and the accurate production of the sounds. That's what speech is. Speech deals with the sounds, and an apraxia, or the motor, also deals with the throat, which is responsible for the voice. Because sometimes a person with a stroke has a weird voice. Sometimes it can be very soft. Sometimes it can be hoarse. Sometimes it can be strangled. And sometimes there's no voice at all. And that's called an aphonia. So a speech-language pathologist deals with speech, the motor, the voice, the articulation, and also deals with the language, the words, the word order, teaching people how to put words together again. So that's the difference between speech and language. Speech is the formation of sounds. Language is the actual words to make a phrase or a sentence. So just remember that any brain trauma, any brain trauma or any brain disease can upset that fine coordination that is required to formulate clear, articulate speech. And if that motor is affected, then the melody of speech is going to sound weird. Now, we know that there's a problem called dysarthria, and we're going to cover that next week also. Dysarthria is an overall slurring of speech. And I think I've referred to that before. The dysarthria is what maybe one of your buddies sounded like if they drank too much at the high school prom or whatever. It's when speech sounds like a person is drunk almost. It's very slurred, and that's called a dysarthria. And any kind of brain injury, any kind of brain trauma can upset the fine coordination of the mouth and the structures, and if that happens, then an individual could have real thick speech, their voice could be different, they might speak much, much, much slower. Their sounds might sound like mush. And that's what happens when the speech motor is affected. And the speech motor, remember, the speech motor can be affected with what we call an apraxia. And an apraxia and an aphasia usually go hand in hand, but not always. Hi, Dennis, how are you? And Dennis knows about all this kind of stuff. So we're talking about the fact that when a person has a stroke or when they lose their speech, you want to know if it's a language-based disorder or a language-based difficulty where the words just don't come, or whether or not it's the sounds of speech. So, what are some of the things, again, I'm going to just review just very quickly some of the symptoms of an apraxia of speech or a motor speech difficulty. Slurring of speech, hesitations in speech, stuttering in speech, hoarse voice in speech, soft voice in speech, imprecise articulation where the sounds are mushy, articulation that's not precise, and the melody that just doesn't sound normal, or maybe the speed of speech is much slower. And then the question is, well, Mark, how do I know if I have a language problem? Well, articulation may not be affected there. They have trouble finding the words. They have trouble expressing the words. They have trouble, they know what they want to say, but they have trouble saying it. Difficulty finding the words and difficulty chaining the words. So that's a language problem. Okay. So, we also know that with an aphasia, there's expressive difficulties in speech, expressive difficulties in writing, but there can also be receptive aphasia. Oh my goodness gracious, so much to think about. And a receptive aphasia is when a person can't read. Maybe they could read before, but after their stroke, maybe not. Or maybe not only can't they read, but they have trouble listening. They have trouble answering questions. You ask them a question, and sometimes they can get the question confused. So that's what we call a receptive aphasia, and that can also occur along with an expressive one. So you want to know And I hope that you're really getting it, because I'm really doing my very best to help you differentiate between an aphasia and a motor speech disorder. All right? You want to know the difference, because if you're a care partner, you want to be able to let the speech therapist know, or you want to know, if you're going to learn how to help your loved one, where you've got to be, whether you've got to be working on the sounds of speech, or if it's an aphasia, you have to work on the words, teaching them again how to bring up the words in speaking. Now, sometimes you can have just an apraxia. Sometimes you can just have a motor speech problem. They can speak perfectly normally, but their motor speech sounds rough, or it sounds slurred. Sometimes you can have both an aphasia and an apraxia. And then there are different levels of difficulty. There's mild and moderate and severe. So that's what I want to share with you about aphasia and apraxia, because guess what? If you're going to work with it, hi Kellyanne, if you're going to work with it, then you want to know exactly what you're going to be working on. And so you're going to want to know what they need. Do they need work with the apraxia? Or do they need work with the aphasia? Or do they need work with both? All right. So, we're going to get on the phone in just a few minutes, and I'm going to show you something magnificent. I'm going to show you something really magnificent. And hi, Debbie, and hi, June. Good to see you. You know, you might say to me, well, Mark, if my loved one has an aphasia and they lose their speech, where should I start? Do I start with the motor speech, the apraxia, or do I start with the aphasia, the ability to bring up words, and teaching them how to bring up words and helping them access those words that are stuck in there? So that's the question that a lot of therapists and a lot of care partners have. Where do I start? What do I do? All right. So I'm going to bring on, in just about 2 minutes, a very special couple. A very, very, very special couple. And I'm going to introduce you to Joan, who had a stroke with aphasia that was a severe aphasia. And not only that, but he also has an apraxia. And what you're going to see in just a few minutes is you're going to see a care partner who I'd put up against almost any speech therapist when it comes to stimulating speech and language with aphasia and apraxia. Because this fine woman has dedicated herself to learning exactly what to do to help her husband, and she's doing all the work. Just about all the work, all right? I teach her what to do, but she's getting to the point now where she's really good. And you know, she doesn't have to go to any intensive program. She doesn't have to get in the car or fly halfway across the United States to go into an intensive program for 4 days or 5 days or a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or anything else like that. She doesn't have to do that. She's got her own intensive program right at home, which is the coolest thing in the world. And it saves thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. All right? As you know, I'm in the car, and I position myself right in front of the sun so you could all see me. Okay, so I'm going to bring Joan and John on, and just know that we've been working together for a while, almost a year, and I'm going to ask Joan if she would answer first just a few quick questions, and then what I'm going to ask her to do is we're going to show you what a speech therapy visit looks like. And it's not really a speech therapy visit. No, it's not. It's a conversation. It's a conversation. So let me see if I can find Joan here, and I'm going to bring her on. Let's see. I'm going to find her. And I think I have to go here to find her. And let's see where she is. I'm looking, and I'm up. Here it is. And this is John and Joan. And I'm invited to come on the camera right now. And hi, Tammy. And hi, Maria. You know, I am amazed at some of the most wonderful care part. Oh, there's Joan. Hey, Joan.
Hi.
Hey, can you you two look great. Hey there. You two look great. You know what? Let's just do some talking. Okay?
Yep.
So, Joan, you can either let's have a conversation about your vacation or about John's message to everybody on the call.
Oh, okay. First, we will, we will have a conversation about our vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are we going on a vacation?
Yes, we will go on vacation.
Good, great. Are we leaving next week?
Yes, we will be leaving on the vacation next week.
Perfect. Now, an open-ended question.
Okay.
Where are we going?
We are going to Diane and Rice Stand-in.
Yes, we are in the great state of Utah. How do you feel about going?
Excited.
Good. In a sentence?
I am going to
I
feel excited.
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
How long will we be gone?
We will be gone about 7, 8, 9, 10 days.
Good. 10 days?
Yeah.
About 10 days?
Yeah.
Very
Perfect.
good.
Yeah.
How will we get there?
We will be going car by car.
Perfect.
By
Nice.
car. Wow.
By car. Nice. Will you take your scooter?
Yes, we will take the future.
Mhm. Good. Will we go on trails?
Yes, we will grow coal on trails.
Mhm.
Very good. Now, voting is coming up, isn't it?
Voting is coming up.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. They are in this. You know what they're saying about you two? They're saying you are inspiring.
Hey.
Now, you see how great she sounds?
Yeah.
And she's mirroring and she's helping him with the sounds with the apraxia and she's cueing just a little bit every once in a while when he needs a little help with the word. But now John has a message for all of us.
Yeah.
Would you like us to do the mirroring or
Yeah,
just?
yeah. Do the mirroring for right now because it's pretty good. It's getting better and better every time.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi. My name is John. I have a stroke 6 years ago. I have aphasia, but it will not stop me from voting.
Voting.
Uh-huh.
Right.
This remember make your voice heard. I know I will.
Good. Right.
Make sure you are registered in you vote. Go out and vote. Or mail your vote. Your no vote matters. Thank you.
Nice.
Wow.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Wow, that was amazing, amazing, amazing. And people are saying awesome, and people are saying beautiful couple. Love your interaction. Great job, both of you. Isn't that just super? So, Joan, what was John's speech like right after his stroke? Can you tell us a little bit about that? What that was like?
Yes. Right after his stroke, John had maybe one word utterances,
Yeah.
very little intelligibility,
Yeah.
and just he had a few automatic phrases like thank you, bye-bye,
Yeah.
but that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell a little bit about the progression of the different therapies you had?
We started out like most caregivers, spouses, where, we did, John had one-on-one speech at home or at a clinic. It was a lot of worksheets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a lot of conversation. It was the meat of it that you wanted. I wanted John to talk. I wanted us to have a conversation.
Yep.
And John's level was here, and they all came in up here.
Yep.
And it wasn't. They were very good therapists, but it wasn't a good fit for John. It didn't address what he needed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and So how did you get hooked up with me?
Um, it's, we started with your book, followed it along. I mean, diligently did the mirroring, embedded questions, and then we did your video. That helped. We could see what it looked like.
Yeah.
And then we now are doing one-on-one with you, Mark.
Uh-huh. And there came a time when we were working on John's aphasia, and I wanted to make sure that he could say words and he could ask for things and he could say things, but the words were really muffled and distorted, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Joan, you said to me one day, do you remember? You said, Mark, when are we going to work on the Apraxia? Remember?
I do remember.
So what changed in the therapy when we started to address the Apraxia?
John's intelligibility went way up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the method that you taught us. Mainly, there was like do you remember the one thing that was like?
Joe down.
That's right.
Slow down.
When John slows down, the intelligibility increases dramatically.
Yeah.
And once he started doing that, and we started working, and I started modeling, which is, I didn't realize how powerful modeling was, but for Apraxia, it's like key.
Yeah.
John needs to see what it looks like when I say it.
Yeah.
So that way the embedded questions helped him, and his intelligibility went up, his confidence went up. I could understand so much more. So it was gratifying.
Yeah.
So what is mirroring?
Mirroring is when I'm saying either a word, a phrase, or a syllable, and John is looking at me face to face, and he's copying it. So if I said, hard word, I don't know, go, you would say, go. And we worked on his name, John, because it was coming out Sean.
Can you show us how it comes out now?
So,
we're working on it, aren't we?
Yeah. So now, when you're saying, what is your name, you slow it down and you think and say, John. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So,
very good. And so what's a typical speech therapy visit like when you use the teaching of talking?
We laugh a lot.
Yeah.
We talk about beer. Can we say that? It's conversational. It's about our daily life.
Yeah.
It's how is our dog? How's our daughter? Where are we going? And it's back and forth, and it's at John's level. Yeah. And it is amazing how we started with embedded questions, and then more open-ended. So John is improved. So where he's going, we're working on John is asking the questions. Like if be brave here. If I said, I saw someone today.
Who is it?
He can.
We spent a long time on questions, haven't we?
Yeah. So things like that are it's just so nice to know that we can go back and forth.
Yeah. So what's it like being able to talk with your spouse now versus how it was when you couldn't?
Yeah.
Night,
and day.
night and day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even, the conversations are not, as everyone knows this, as they were before your stroke.
Yep.
But they're meaningful and they mean something to us.
Yep.
So, and that's important, and we can communicate.
Yep.
So,
Can you give our audience, because boy, you two are just doing great. I'm gonna this deserves an Academy Award.
hey,
So can you give me another example of like some of the things you might be saying to each other or asking him, or can you give us a couple more examples of that?
sure. If I start the day, I'll say, did you have breakfast?
Yes, I have breakfast.
Then I might say, what did you eat?
I ate cereal.
Right. Oh, we could say, did you feed the dog?
Yes, I fed a dog.
Now, Joan, some of the people back home who are watching this, they might be going, "What the heck is he doing with his hand?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Um, Mark introduced this. For John to slow down, it helps with pacing. You say a word and you pace yourself.
Self.
Does it help you?
Yes, it helped me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, I am just blown away by this interview. This has just been super, and I think everybody on the call is just very much amazed. Would you tell us the story about the time you went to ARC and you saw that man who had aphasia talking?
Oh yeah, it was. We went to ARC boot camp, and it was a woman, and she stood up and she read something, and she had aphasia, and I was just thinking and in awe and envious and thinking, oh, I wish my John could do that. I haven't heard any words,
Yeah.
a sentence, and now John, John
is talking.
is talking. Yeah, it just means there's no price you can put on it.
Yeah.
It's priceless.
Priceless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
And we owe much to you, Mark, because this wasn't happening at this level at all until we started your method. So it's made a world of difference.
Yep.
Okay, so John, this is a perfect example of apraxia.
Yep.
And his articulation is improving very, very well. It's not perfect yet, but it's getting better and better and better. And
Oh.
and the aphasia is improving too. Before he couldn't initiate any speech. He couldn't initiate any words, any phrases, any sentences, and now he can. So John, before you go, would you like to say something to the group?
Joan with. Joan with. Joan
Don't
quit.
Good.
Yeah.
That was great mirroring. Let me hear that one more time. I love that. Let's hear it again. I love it.
Don't quit.
Good. That's just absolutely fantastic. Well, I'd like to thank you two.
Thank you.
This has been one of the most amazing interviews I've ever had in over 45 years of clinical experience.
Oh.
So it's amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Okay. Wow. And right now it's 6:45, and this call is supposed to be from 6 to 7. So I think there's somebody else on the call. Helen says it's like a metronome. Yes, it is like a metronome, but uh, but Joan and John establish their own metronome. A metronome would a real metronome would not really work with them, all right, but a built-in metronome that can allow for different times, because sometimes during speech it slows down a little bit or it speeds up a little bit. So they establish their own metronome. And what I want to say to you, and this is something that is really, really significant. You know, Joan was saying that the therapy that John had was way up here. That means it was way too difficult for him. And one of the things that I'm blessed with is the ability to chunk something down very easily, keep simplifying and simplifying and simplifying until a person can achieve it, and then move on from there. But the real important thing for all of you to understand is that even with an apraxia, you know, it can sound so bad because the speech is all garbled and you can't understand. And that's the way John's was initially. Now, when we slowed his speech down and we showed him the model, then we found a speed where John could talk, where his speech was accurate and intelligible. And what I mean by intelligible is understandable. We found a speed that's just right for him. It's sort of like taking a bride, taking a woman who's engaged to go get fitted for a bridal gown. It's kind of like the same thing. The person at the bridal shop has to take measurements and, you know, all of that kind of thing. And we have to do that too. We have to figure out the right speed where an individual can make accurate articulation. And quite often, even though it doesn't seem like a person would be able to do that, if you slow it way down, and you can show them a way. Now, the other thing, if you remember what Joan said, and here's another thing that you all have to really remember, whether it's aphasia therapy or apraxia therapy or a combination of aphasia therapy and apraxia therapy, what you have to remember is that it's a team of the care person and the person with aphasia or the apraxia, and that quite often you can make a world of difference if the care partner learns how to do the right thing. And it's priceless. It really is priceless. Okay, I'm going to I'm going to invite the next person on the call. Let's see who it is. Let's see who it is. Let's see. Guest requests. These are the guest requests. I'm going to invite Cindy onto the call. Now, Cindy, you want to make sure that your camera is horizontal. And we're seeing if she's going to come on. It says that we're adding her. You have to make sure that your camera is on and that your iPhone is horizontal. And if it's horizontal,
Well, hi there.
well, hello there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent.
Good.
So,
I'm a little surprised.
so tell me a little bit about yourself, and do you have any particular challenges that you have?
Well, my husband had a stroke 4.5 years ago, and we've come a long way with his speech. He went from blee, blee, blee to a lot of spontaneous speech now. And we aren't quite as good as your last couple, but we definitely have made strides. One of the things he likes to do when we're driving is to read the out-of-state license plates, and he can say a lot of things better when he reads them. So the one thing that I had a question about, and I'm assuming it's the apraxia, is that sometimes he can read the words fine and says Florida or Ohio or Illinois, and the next time he sees the same plate, he can't make his mouth say that same word
Mm-hmm.
for a few minutes
Mm-hmm.
or for a half hour or until the next day. But then all of a sudden, 20 minutes, a half hour goes by, we've talked about something else, and I'll say, okay, say Florida, and he says it fine.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's aphasia recall or if that's because, I'll say and, to try to make the sound, and he says, I can't even get there.
Okay.
So
Is there any way we could turn that down in the background of the radio or the TV or
I'll move.
anyway?
Hang
Okay.
on just a second. Yeah.
Okay. So my
Come with
question.
me.
Okay, I'll come with you.
Okay.
Where are we going?
In the kitchen.
Okay. So my question is, um, do you model the word for him?
I definitely try to. Sometimes I'm driving, and so I'm trying to keep my eyes on the road
Uh-huh.
and, talk to him at the same time.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I will try to emulate the sound or the beginning of the word, or I try to do what your last couple did,
Yes.
and uh, he says I can't.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if it's he's not hearing the
Okay.
sound well enough to be able to say it, or if it's his tongue and his mouth just don't want to cooperate.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you do much mirroring with him?
We did.
Where you're like
We
right in
did
front
for
of
a
him?
while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we haven't done that recently, so
Okay.
I'm neglectful, and I probably
Okay.
should start that again.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I'll bet you dimes to dollars, okay, that that I know you're one of the first people who bought my book, aren't you?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I remember because you've said a few things about it, but mirroring and working with him when you want him to be able to say something, if he's like right in front of you, about
Yeah.
3 feet away, and looking at you face to face, and maybe saying the word at the same time.
Right. I will definitely, yeah, I'm going to step up my game for
Yeah.
sure, because
Okay.
especially after seeing that last couple,
Oh,
um, yeah, definitely.
okay. So I hope to see you on the call, and I want to see progress reports. And
Okay,
okay, and if I could be of any help, I'm not too far away. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Bye bye now.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, that was great to see Cindy. Now, somebody said, let's try again, Mark. Bernadine. Well, let's see, Miss Bernadine. Okay, let's see if we can find Miss Bernadine. Hold on. I'm going to invite Miss Bernadine onto the call. Let's see if I can find her. Let's see. Recently invited. Let's see if we can find. I don't think that's the one I want. I think I want this one. Yeah. Okay. Let's see where. Oops. John Bourne. Oh, Joseph Bourne wants to be in your video. Oh, we got to get Joe onto this video before the night is over. Let me try Bernadine again. Guest requests. Let's see if I can find Bernadine. Ah, there's Bernadine. Let's see if we can get Bernadine on. Bernadine Scott. Let's see. And then I want to go to Joe. And tomorrow morning, our class, we're going to be reviewing and we're going to also be talking with lots of people. So if you have some questions or you want me to visit with you or answer any of your questions, tomorrow I'm going to spend a good part of the visit just reviewing what we've covered, answering any questions, and maybe even looking at the way some of you are speaking and maybe making a suggestion or two. So we're waiting for Bernadine, and boy, I sure do hope that Bernadine comes on the call. Oh, there. Okay, Bernadine. Now you want to move your camera. Let's see. Yeah, turn it the other way if you can.
Okay.
Oh, good. Now. Oh, very good, very good. Let me see your full face.
See if we can do this. Turn this way.
Yeah, no, you're
This way.
doing perfectly. Oh, okay. Now move the camera back a little. Move it away from you so I can see you. Oh, that's better. Now, who's that good-looking person who's sitting next to you?
Hello. This is
Hell,
my daughter, Juanette, and she had um, a stroke 7 years ago, and she's had aphasia ever since that time.
uh-huh. And has she had speech therapy?
She has had speech therapy, but that did not work for her.
It didn't.
No.
So what did they tell you? And try to keep the camera on your faces. Keep the camera nice and straight because both of you are very attractive ladies, and I like to see attractive ladies. Okay? So tell me
Very.
what it is that what were you told about her speech and speech therapy?
Well, we went through speech therapy with Medicaid.
Uh-huh.
There was only a very limited amount of time that they taught her, that
Okay.
they were attempting to teach her.
Okay.
So, and it was those flashcards and that type of thing. And like I said, that did not work for her.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now,
That
so
doesn't
let's
work.
see if we can kind
That
of keep
doesn't
that
work.
camera
Yeah,
nice and still, if we
it has
can.
to be up.
Okay, so have you learned anything uh, from the two classes that we've had?
Yes, we have started mirroring, and I noticed that that helped Juanette significantly. Um, she has been able to speak better over the last couple of days than she has ever been able to speak.
Well, can you give me an example of that?
Yes, I'll just
Okay.
ask, I'll talk to her and ask her what she did today.
Okay.
Juanette, what did you do today?
What did you do today?
Mhm.
I some washed and I um
Cool.
cooked,
Ah.
and I cleaned up, and then I um cleaned
You helped your
her and
aunt make
make
a
a
cake.
cake.
Wow. Did you make a cake?
Well, she did it for her, but she was,
You put it in the pan.
yes.
Tell
I
me.
put it in the pan.
Oh, wonderful. Hey, isn't this better than flashcards?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Isn't this better than worksheets?
Yes. We have been saying for so long, or I have been saying to her that we need to have conversations, that we need to talk to each other
Yes.
every day. And then when
Yes.
she heard you say that we need to mirror each other, she
Yes.
wanted to do it. So it's been better having you tell her than me tell her.
Well, you're just her mother. I mean, golly, you're just her mother. Okay.
So
be-
we love your technique, Mark.
okay. That's great. And that makes me very, 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 very happy. I'm so glad. Now, before you go, I want you to stimulate Wynette to say two more things. Okay?
Um,
What are you going to do tomorrow?
Tomorrow I go to the aerobics for I have the um
Water.
water aerobics.
Wow, that was good. Man, that was good. Okay, one more.
Um, let's see.
One other question.
Are you going to listen to your music tomorrow and dance?
Yes, I really do.
You
Okay. Well,
All right.
this was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful share. And
Yes,
I hope you two will join us for the other classes so
yes,
that there'll be lots of other things for you to learn, okay?
we will. Thank you.
Okay. All
All right.
right. That was
Bye-bye.
just bye-bye. That was just terrific. Okay, I've got one more friend of mine whose name is Joe. I worked with Joe for about a year. He had Apraxia and severe aphasia. And gosh, he could hardly say anything when he first came in. And after a year of working together, he gave a speech. Joe gave a speech to the Texas Speech, Language, and Hearing Association about his speech therapy. So I'm going to try and find Joe now. Let's see if I can find him. Ah, here he is. Let's see. We're going to bring Joe on. You want to hold your camera, I think horizontal, Joe. This will be, wow, there's my good friend. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Uh, I know uh, it is not seeing you.
It is nice seeing me. It is nice seeing
Yes.
you. Can you share with the the group here what it was like when you and I worked together?
Uh, yes. But
But
uh, John and Joan were awesome.
yeah, they were awesome. John and Joan, they were awesome, weren't they? Well, they're like you. I mean, they're like you. I mean, you were friggin' awesome. weren't you? And you still
Um,
are. Okay, what else can you tell us?
uh, I didn't buy you book.
You didn't buy the book. You didn't need the book.
No. I can read.
You can't read.
Yes.
Okay.
And I live myself.
Good. And I live by myself. Wow. Wonderful. What else can you tell us?
When I started going to speak therapy under Mark, I could only say bye, bye, bye.
You can only say ba ba ba. Yeah.
You have taught me how to speak. They they first thing that you taught me was to slow down.
Was to slow down because of the Apraxia, that darn Apraxia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sure no. I sure sure
I still.
we for you as you can make a rock talk.
That I can make a rock talk. Okay. Thank you, Joe. Anything that you would like to say to, there are a bunch of people out there. Many of them have aphasia. Many of them have loved ones with aphasia. Is there anything you'd like to tell them?
I don't know. My daughter was on here yesterday,
My daughter was on here yesterday.
and she listened in.
And she listened in.
I did not know how to work the Facebook.
You didn't know how to work the Facebook. Aha.
She at the beach.
She's at the beach.
Yeah. I take speed therapy from Taylor me the gas. Taylor me gas.
I didn't get that.
I take speech therapy
Good.
from tailor made gas.
Okay, so you take speech therapy from somebody by the name of Taylor now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so not bad for a guy who just started out with ba ba ba, right?
Yeah. But I am going to Lamar University
So you're going to Lamar University.
for speech.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And you were talking pretty good by the time we finished, weren't you?
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
family was just amazed, and everybody where we were working was just amazed. And it's
Yeah.
been wonderful, Joe, to have you share with the group right now. So we'll see you again on another call, okay? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay. Excellent.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Isn't that wonderful? So it's 7:11, and I promised that I would finish up by 7 o'clock. I could do this all night. But after a while, you work with people, and you don't give up. But the most important thing is that you find somebody who knows what they're doing. There are so many people out there who are really capable of speaking, but they just haven't found the right person to help them. And sometimes you have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 or 6 therapists before you find the right one. So never give up. And there's always somebody out there who can help you. Okay, so on that, I'm going to say goodbye, everybody. This has been a wonderful evening, and I'd like to thank John and Joan, and I'd like to thank Wynette, and I'd like to thank Joe, and each and every one of you for coming by and learning about the teaching of talking and about learning how to help those with aphasia and apraxia talk better. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night now.